Welcome to Watch Out for AGI Podcast, your go-to podcast for the latest in AI. We dive into cutting-edge models, news, and products with insights from developers and creators worldwide. AI evolves fast, and we are here to keep you informed. So whether you're coding, building, or just curious about AI, stick with us to stay ahead of the game. This is Watch Out for AGI. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Watch Out for AGI Podcast, your go-to podcast for AI news. We run a weekly show where we go over the latest and greatest news from OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, Meta AI, and much more. We cover models, latest announcements, and products. Hey Emrick, how are you doing today?
Yeah, super pumped. I'm really excited because there's like a ton of AI news. And I would also like to say to the people that are hearing us that if you can like interact with us as much as possible, we are really eager to know your opinion on like all this AI news.
Things are changing fast and our flows are changing. When we started the podcast, we were running different flows than the flows we're using today. The products, they change as well. We are using all sorts of modalities, text, image, video. I personally use Cursor. I also use OpenAI's new image model, which is amazing. Emrick, have you been using it recently?
No, I have not because I am not paying for OpenAI right now, but I've seen how great it can be. And I also saw that you're using it for our thumbnails. It's doing a great job. I love it.
The thumbnails, I just say, make us clickbait and our faces turn from ugly to uglier. Yeah, so today we have some amazing announcements that we just missed last week because we published our podcast and OpenAI decided to roll out 2 new models
Yeah, it
right
was
after we
huge.
published. We were lucky enough to have 4.1 last week. And 4.1 revolutionized the 4.0 experience that you were getting via API, which was already a very competitive model. And they sent that model back to the prehistoric times with a much faster and more knowledgeable model 4.1, 4.1 mini, and 4.1 nano. I have already started using 4.1 mini and nano in my flows, and 4.1 as well for a few of my flows. Emrick, have you made the switch? You're not using OpenAI's API.
So I tried to use it myself into Cursor a little bit because you talked to me about it. And I stayed with Claude. So it's not 4.1 that will change anything right now to my flows, I would say. I am using for the price in my APIs most of the Gemini's models. For coding, I'm using mostly Claude. For now, OpenAI hasn't fitted into my specific usage.
I switched over to 4.1. The reason being that massive context window that you can put in. I thought that that would be a interesting thing to try to debug because maybe Claude is short on that. Guys, we were saying it the last time. You can fit most of your code in Claude's window. At 1 million window, wait, no, it's actually, no, that
I think it's 200, no? For Claude.
Yeah, Claude is 200, but the 4.1, how much
Oh,
is
it's
that?
1 million, yeah. It's 1.
That huge window is not necessary. So I switched back to Sonnet, as we usually do for the last, 2 years. It's unbeatable, and until we say so, that is the go-to model. We will tell you guys if someone beats Sonnet when something comes out, but yes, nothing beats Sonnet.
I have a question for you, Remy, about this, because in Cursor we use Claude. Have you tried to use the auto setting? Were you happy with it?
I did use auto. I don't like to mix auto with Sonnet. I feel like Sonnet writes code that it's able to itself understand. If you write code with Sonnet and then switch to auto, it usually fucks up. if you run a whole project with auto, it works better than switching from
I
auto
see.
to not auto. That is what I can say.
For the listeners, Howdo is a way for Cursor to automatically route to the most performant model. And I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but like the model with auto is super fast. It looks like Mistral or something. And it's also becoming super stupid. And I felt that it was just running in circles with auto. So it seems like sometimes it can work for you. But yeah, that was just a question.
I've been trying the new models from Google, trying the new models from OpenAI. I usually run with Sonnet, like I said, and then for small edits that I don't want to use my credits on, I will take a file, Command K, and run a quick modification to the file with a 4.0 mini. If the function is like a block of code, 4.0 mini gets the job done. I run flows like turn this into Markdown. The 4.0 mini does the job perfectly. So you should try and change your flow and try to find the most reliable model for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep in
Absolutely.
mind the size of the models. If you're a noob, okay, there's a lot of you guys out there, new vibe coders who don't know how to use Git. I've seen that. Well, you have to know that using Claude Sonnet is going to be costly. And if you're going to ask it to change the color, maybe a smaller model will do the job there. That said, let's get into today's big announcement. We're a few days late, but OpenAI's O3 and O4 mini reasoning models. OpenAI launched O3, its flagship reasoning model, and O4 mini, a lightweight, cost-effective alternative. These models excel in complex tasks such as coding, math, and visual reasoning, integrating ChatGPT tools such as web search, Python code execution, image analysis, and generation. O3 is touted to be OpenAI's most advanced model, while O4 Mini balances performance and affordability for high throughput tasks. O4 Mini does come with O4 Mini High, which is said to be good for logic and coding. Have you had the chance to try any of these models, Emrick? It's been 3 days, I think. What do you think?
So first thing, I've seen so many benchmarks, so many hype, and I think I've never seen so much hype. I don't know. I think OpenAI won the market right now. They are really like the first on the market. And anytime OpenAI releases something, on Twitter, people are becoming crazy. I saw like, oh my God, now we have the first genius level AI. Like you have this IQ test that they passed O3, and the IQ of O3 is like 140, and like people are like freaking out. But when you try it, I personally experienced a lot of hallucinations. It's great. I won't lie. Also, there is that really interesting thing happening. You can see on Twitter, like, oh my God, O3 is so good at GeoGuessr. And that's true. You give him like, even if I give my background here, they might know where I am. Exactly. And you should not. So it's really interesting because it's really good. I would not choose it myself, I think, in API because it's really expensive too. They did it on purpose. It's really expensive. But it's both like a super good model and a super hyped model. And I don't really know where to put myself in the middle of it.
I tried using O3. It feels like O1, to be honest. I didn't use O1 enough to know, so don't take that for any usable input from me. For Mini High was used as well to debug some stuff. I usually use the ChatGPT interface to ask it if my implementation is correct. I never ask it to do any of the coding work. I just query it to make sure that it is of high standard. Usually Claude Sonnet does the code writing, and OpenAI just verifies. I just use it as a senior software engineer. One product that came out along with O3 and O4 Mini is the Codex CLI. It is, I think, a response to Anthropic's Sonnet code. Wait, what is it called again?
It's Claude code, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a CLI that is really just for code, and it will modify your files incrementally.
OpenAI Codex CLI is an open source command line tool that brings the power of latest reasoning models directly to your terminal. It acts as a lightweight coding agent that can read, modify, and code and run code on your local machine to help you build features faster, squash bugs, understand unfamiliar code. Because the CLI runs locally, your source code never leaves your environment unless you choose to share it. That is a killer. If you're working in enterprise, you might want to use something like this because otherwise you're sending out your code to the big giant OpenAI. And a lot of company policies are against sending your proprietary code out there. Do you think, Emrick, that this is a useful tool? Would you ever try this one?
So the UX is really interesting. I remember I've been to an event where you had this other tool called Warp presented. And Warp is like a CLI with AI. And at the beginning, I was like, what the fuck? Like, why would it be useful just to like do LS or anything? But that's true that when sometimes you want to do more commands, it's great to have AI. But why I'm talking about Warp is because at the end of their presentation, they were actually, before OpenAI, before Claude, they were presenting the idea that you could theoretically code in the terminal. And the first time I heard about it, I was like, really, I would never do that because I really need to have my ID. I need to be able to open, to modify my file directly. But then Karpati did this tweet about vibe code. And if you really give up everything you have and just do vibe coding and you trust the AI enough to not do too much mistakes or fix their own mistakes, theoretically, you should not look at the file itself. It's all about how much you trust the AI. And I think Claude, as an example, is good for small scoped project, but will struggle with bigger project. So here, I think I'm not trusting Claude 100%. Maybe here, with the Genius level O3, I would trust it. But the last problem that I have here is the price. Like, if to create a fucking landing page, I need to pay $100. No, without me. So it's all about trusting the model and also the cost. I think at some point we will have one of this UX only CLI tool that will win the market. I'm not sure we are there yet.
I'm going to give this one a go. Let's see if it revolutionizes any of my flows. So moving on to a new capacity, a new capability from the new models from OpenAI. These reasoning models now think with images, processing diagrams, sketches, and low-quality visuals to enhance reasoning. This is a first for OpenAI's reasoning models. If you guys remember correctly, if you used O1, I did not personally use O1. I've always been using 4. We will get into that. I'm very pissed at the naming. If you used 4, you did not need to use O1. But O1 did not have any web capability, any photo capability, any nothing. It was just a reasoning model. Now this is a multimodal. So maybe that is the change here, the game-changing feature of these two models. Do you use any of the other modalities? No, you don't even have ChatGPT, so.
No, not right now, yeah. But I just would like to say that what you say it's interesting now. I think what they did, the breakthrough they did here, is that not only the model is like a little bit better, but it's also using way more the tools, probably leveraging MCPs. It's using more the tools, more modalities. So by adding all of these eyes, ears, being able to use tools, that's why the model became better.
Coming back to naming, this is the stupidest naming yet. Don't know if it doesn't look like if they tried, they could probably do something more stupid, but I think it's not even intentional. They're not thinking here. They're going to confuse a lot of their user base. I was telling you earlier, I think that 4.0 and 0.4 is the most stupid thing to do because already as a human, I have a hard time remembering what is what. And secondly, if you are using a LLM to generate code, the LLM doesn't know the difference between 4.0 and 0.4. I think it might mess up. It's not very clear which model to use out of 0.4 or 4.0. If both
It's a
of them
bit
are on the market.
exhausting. It's
Yeah.
a bit exhausting to just understand what the fuck's happening. I think it's even worse when you use the scroll. Like you have like the choice between all the models and you see O4 mini high, O mini, or like GPT-4 nano. This is becoming confusing fast. And I think at some point it was a problem of ego for OpenAI because they know they are like in forefront of AI and they're like, we can do whatever. People will just buy our shit. I think recently the naming is biting back a little bit. People are fighting back and I just getting lost for good reasons.
My favorite naming stays Anthropic's naming. It's easy. It's 3 models. It is Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. You know what? I haven't heard anything about Haiku or Opus in forever. Are they even going to continue working on these larger, more intensive models and the smaller ones? Or is it just sounded out of the way?
I think all these companies nowadays, so they have an initial ID. Like let's say you talked about the 3 models, like Haiku, Sonnet, Opus. It was the first ID. The problem, and not really the problem, is they got product market fit with 3.5. So Sonnet 3.5 came up, product market fit, everyone uses it, even if it's super expensive. So I think they were like, now we are focusing on it. Like we got the product market fit, we are focusing on it. So of course it changes a little bit their strategy because they're like, why would we even work on the rest? This one is bringing so much revenue. So I think right now we are really more focused on Sonnet. But until they lose the product market fit, they will try to innovate. But they do not change until they have the product market fit, I think.
Today's day, you don't know how people are using the models, so you must come up with one of everything. I don't know if you see the memes out there of, oh no, another AI product. There's like how many vibe coding things out there? Everybody's got one. Canva even got to it. If you listen to our last podcast, we grilled and we just destroyed Canva, where I was just claiming that I don't know what branding specialist would ever use Google Sheets and create mini apps. But the answer is create, test it on your user base. If you grab that flag, it is yours. I think that Anthropic has grabbed the coding flag and they are far in front. I would say Google has grabbed the video flag. Midjourney has grabbed the image flag, but OpenAI came right back with an amazing approach. It's about having a model, testing it on your user base. If it sticks, continue. If it doesn't, I guess don't sunset, just put it in your graveyard.
We see all the companies, and what is more interesting is like even the bigger companies being more entrepreneurial. It feels like right now, recently, companies are just like trying a bunch of stuff and like throwing it against the wall, and then they just see what sticks. And right now, it seems like the whole industry is trying to push the AI as code because it seems like developers are one of the best customers, and developers are even ready to pay for it. And there's also like, you know, the gold rush of like, who wants to be the next entrepreneur, and like they are selling us shovels.
Talking about Google's model earlier. Google VO2 came out since our last podcast. Google has integrated VO2 into Gemini Advanced, enabling high-resolution 8-second video generation with cinematic realism. It excels in realistic physics and human motion, available in Google One AI subscription premium subscribers, whilst Animate also allows image-to-video animation.
I just want to say that also available in AI Studio for free. So right now everyone can use VO2. That's actually weird. Google is offering, as you said, in their premium offering, you can like create videos, but you can do the same in AI Studio. It's also a less popular platform, so it's a bit of a hack. But they're offering to paying customers and also free customers.
We did cover video in one of our previous pods where we did a focus point on it. Go check it out. Hint, VO2 won by a large gap. And Sora did terribly, and, everything between that has its specialty. Go check it out. One thing that I did want to bring up in the AI news is Microsoft. They're back with a 1-bit AI model called BitNet. It runs efficiently on CPUs, including MacBooks, outperforming Meta's 3.2B and 3.21B and Google's Gemma 3 1B, as well as Quen. That is a big hit for Meta. I think they wanted to focus on the 1-bit sector, and they have gotten surpassed by Microsoft. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, you're right. So Microsoft has this weird focus where they are focusing on stuff that OpenAI is not covering, and they are really trying to research these small models. I don't remember the name, but they have really good. Oh, I think it's 5.3.553. It's really niche. It's used really, I think, for like something that has really small GPUs, small CPUs, like for phone. And I think they are actually leading this specific niche. They are leading in the 1B model that really requires not much compute. And it seems like here it's interesting because they're trying to push it on the CPU. So maybe on a computer when you don't even have a GPU, or maybe to do like some AI processing in addition to the GPUs that are already maxed out. That's interesting what they're doing. It's really niche though, like not a bunch of people are using it. So that might be sometimes a bit stressful for the researchers that maybe get as much comment as us on our podcast.
Yeah. I don't know if I would ever use a 1-bit model. When you're connected to the internet, you go for these bigger models. They don't cost that much. This would only be useful if you're on an airplane and your airplane doesn't have Wi-Fi, which is becoming rarer and rarer, or just misfunctioning. Air India, I heard that they have a non-functioning Wi-Fi. So if you're doing a Air India flight from Chicago to New Delhi, that one you might want to bring your 1B. Doesn't cost much in bandwidth, so download one before you take up that flight.
I just wanted to ask you, Remy, have you seen that huge news? OpenAI wants to buy Windsurf. Have you
I did. It put me back into FOMO land, guys.
Arun?
We met Aaron in South by Southwest. We got to speak with him and the guys from Glean just 1 month ago, and this massive news hits. Tell us a bit more about it, Emrick.
Yeah, so Arun is the CEO of Windsurf, and like we had this presentation, and Arun was the guy that was the most like pragmatic, I would say. He was basically talking about his path from doing Codium being, it was a plugin at the time, it was a VS Code plugin, and then they saw Cursor going out, so they were like, oh wow, we need to fork VS Code to actually create a fully fledged IDE. And by the way, Microsoft tried to bite back on that. They are trying to block plugins that are working on VS Code on other IDE, but I digress. So yeah, it was really nice to talk with him. And now that's crazy because he has a possibility to exit. He can exit at the top of the AI dev. I would not call it bubble because maybe it will continue. But 3 billion for like, I think it's a product they started working on like maybe 2 years ago at most. That's amazing. Congratulations to him.
Would you take the deal?
I don't know. It's interesting because right now there is a huge competition from Cursor. Cursor, I think, is winning the market for now, and Windsurf is taking the leftovers. I also heard that OpenAI tried to buy Cursor, and Cursor said no. Windsurf, they might need to take the deal if they think they don't have a long-term competitive advantage. And for now, I think they do not, but I don't know. I don't want to be pretentious. I don't know. Maybe they have something, a wild card behind that I don't know about.
I think that most AI companies have great products. Not many have users. This is a way to buy your users because at the end of the day, you know that AGI is coming. You know that you need to have the users no matter what you're cooking, and buying your users is the cheapest way to stay ahead in this market. So I think it's a smart move. I would probably personally take the $3 billion and and ride off into the sunset. There's so much more you can work on with. If you're taking 1 billion personally, you can start any AI company after that and build something else. Depending on how strong OpenAI's terms will be, I think that you should take that deal.
Something that I would like to say is that if we take just the idea of an IDE, the market is limited to developers. But you used Cursor and Agent Mode recently, and you can see that they are really increasing their capability of like using their eyes, looking at the code base, discoverability, like they can go into a VM and discover what is installed. Maybe if you look at long term, it's not about just the IDE, but it's also about creating an agent that can be a developer in the end, and you're using your user base to train this new agent. So you can see maybe more long term, and maybe we have a 1 trillion company right there.
Quick switch to a massive plug on my side, and I will let you, Emrick, do a plug as well. Talking about agents, I am building an agent. Emrick is building an agent as well. Let me present to you the newsletter agent of 2025. Newsletter Killer is a newsletter agent that allows you to automate your newsletter generation. How to generate a newsletter today is now very simple. Forget about hiring someone to write a newsletter every week. You can throw it at an AI agent and it will write for you. It is easy. Go to newsletteragent.com, put your email in, and you will be added to the beta. From there, all you will need to do is subscribe to different newsletters that you want your newsletter to resemble, put it on listen mode, and start listening to emails coming in. They're going to come in. And after 1 week, you will be able to generate your first newsletter completely writer-free. So this will be a game changer if you are a solopreneur and you are looking to generate newsletters on the go. That's for newsletterkiller.com. Go check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Emrick, tell us about your agent. This is your pitch. This is your time to sell it.
No, yeah. So I'm still working on the same product because I am like iterating a lot and trying with a lot of my private beta testers. And the idea behind Redwitch is to be able to generate a YouTube video that would be like listenable. Like as an example, you might have heard about TikTok about small quotes, small informations, and they don't have the time to actually go forward and deeper into a subject. And I wanted to be able to reproduce the stuff that I'm seeing a lot on internet to explain concepts. Like as an example, when a new tariff comes up and the US bonds rate are going up, I would like to be able to understand what is happening. And the idea is basically being able to create a 10-minute-ish video about the subject based on news. And also after publishing this video, so you would use it for yourself or publish it on YouTube, it automatically analyzes the new statistics from the previous video to understand what worked, what didn't work, etc. And creating a positive feedback loop to create your YouTube channel. So yeah, it's an agent to create a YouTube channel on like a concept that you would like to explain. As simple as that.
Can't wait until we get out of beta mode. We will be pushing each other to get our products on the market, and we will keep you guys updated. Sorry for the plug, but that is what keeps us running with AI. We love building products and sharing them with the world. So go check out redwitch.com for the beta mode. It is coming out very soon. Now that the plugs are out of the way, Emrick, we are going to cover a segment of an AI flow that you ran into last week. And we're going to discuss as two engineers how we used AI to unblock ourselves to make code last 15 minutes instead of 3 hours of editing. This one comes from you. Go ahead and tell us a bit about your case, and we will debate on how to use AI to make your flow faster.
The idea is basically, for experimentation, I had the AI flow that was working correctly, and it's working perfectly if you call just a Python code. It's a Python API server, it's working correctly. But I noticed for myself, for my own development flow, if I want to connect it to a front end that is in JavaScript, it starts to be more complicated because the models are not the same. You're not sharing the models of the data from the Python to JavaScript. And basically just the integration from the front end and the back end started to become a bit fuzzy and complicated. And using a lot of vibe coding, it's in terms of context switching for the AI, it's really hard. So I had in a project to switch from a Python code base to a Next.js code base. It's basically just a data flow calling LLMs, and I wanted to move it from Python to JavaScript, specifically in Next.js. And I remember that we talked about it in one of our previous podcasts when you were describing this way you were working with Markdown and like going slowly, because if you try and if you make your AI going too fast, they're going to get lost. So I tried this with Claude. I asked Claude to look at my Python code and describe the flow. And they wrote this 1K line documentations. Then I had the flow. I took this first documentation and I gave it again to Sonnet on the other side on my next app. And they started slowly to create a plan. Then I asked to create a plan to understand where it is. And it's also an idea from you, actually, Remy. A log to know where they are in the implementations. So they have an initial context, a plan, and a log. For now, I started and I'm like 20% of the planning and implementations. And I would say I'm pretty happy because it goes really slowly into the implementation. What do you think about my approach right now? And do you think it's working well? What would you do differently?
This is the way I've been working with Cursor. I've been saying this and saying this again. If you want to smash your head against the machine 500 times, please fix, please make it work, please. The thing doesn't understand you.
Please.
You don't even know what it implemented, and you're just lost. And so the way you are going about this is the future of AI coding. Thinking that you can one-shot things and building a small context to run your massive tasks is literally impossible to do unless there's magic that happens. There will be a fuck up. So the way you are proceeding is the way a lot of people are proceeding on Reddit. It is a slow but maintainable cruise speed for when you are building an app as a solopreneur. You need to look at the agent as your team. He's not you. You're asking him to do tasks, and you're checking up on if he fucked up. You're checking up on if he's going in the right direction, if he's, being stupid or not. And I think this is really, really the best way to go. Can you tell us a bit about the results you've gotten doing this, and give me an example of where something would usually fuck up and where it is not anymore with this task approach?
Yeah. So for now, I re-implemented the full voiceover creation, so script generation and voiceover creation based on Kokoro LLM that we talked about in the previous podcast. So why it's working well here, it is because it knows in advance the models it needs to use. So it knows also in advance how to parse the answer for LLMs. It also immediately tried to do some integration testing. So they actually created integration testing to see if the pipeline is still working, if the basic methods and the basic building blocks it uses are working. So I feel that compared to the basic vibe coding where you're using chat and it will change your file, it's actually you're working on like more solid foundations. It does not try to vibe everything at once. It's building the building blocks. And then you have the methods that are tested, unit tested, integration tested, and you can count on it. Your schemas, the schemas of the data that is going into your flow, you are sure you are talking about the same one. You know also the prompts that it will be created to call for other LLMs. Like they are clear because they know the point of it. They also know the flow and they implement one step at a time. It was actually a super interesting and different way to work. And that's also what you told me a long time ago, that the fact that you're using the agent mode. I was at the beginning stressed to use the agent mode, but if you actually have a plan and you work more as a product manager, it's working way better.
I went one step further, Emrick. We have turned on this side of the pod, we have turned on YOLO mode. I have gone full YOLO mode. I can't believe I did that. I tried it and there's no going back. I don't want to click on that next button every time. I turned on YOLO mode and I put a whitelist of commands that it can run YOLO. So you cannot delete files or git push anything. It's a full YOLO mode that's restricted but still amazing. And if you run a task end to end with YOLO mode, go get a beer and come back and your feature will be implemented. So we did a lot of theoretical talk. Let me get into one very specific prompt that would be an example of what we're talking about here. Let's say we want to integrate a new feature in our code base. That feature is send email notifications when an event happens. What is an event? An event would be like a email sign up. It would be a job that's finished or something like this. You are a senior product manager with senior capabilities of coding. And this is funny, but I would never write this, but you have no time, basically is the idea. And you have a team of junior coders. There's one junior coder that I'm going too far here. Write a task for a junior developer and make sure that it is very clear for him how to implement. The task is implement a notification system that detects when a user creates an event and send an email when that event happens to that user. Mention specific documentation that you want to be used in it and quote the documentation inside the task. Inside your task, there should be links to the documentation of your app so that the LLM, when it reads your task to implement it, it can go straight to the documentation and not grep it and not look for it. It knows where the documentation is and what line to look at. It saves a lot of time and a lot of hallucinations. So quote your documentation inside your tasks. When you've written that, throw it into Cursor. And don't worry, because this is only to create the task. It will not touch your codebase. This is a markdown file that you can delete if it sucks. You read it. I usually put it through a reasoning model at OpenAI. Say, is this good, logical? Is it easy to implement for a junior coder? Could it be easier? You get feedback. You run a feedback loop. You build a perfect task. You create testing at the bottom, and then you're ready to go. And then you can run it into your cursor, and it will one-shot your feature. Not all the time, but it will one-shot a few times. You'll be very impressed. Does this sound anything like what you're doing, Emrick?
Yeah, I think you're going one step further. You're really acting like a product manager and you really understand. And I think that's true that the LLMs right now have junior developer ability. And so you're really trying as much as possible to decompose the feature to make it understandable. And then you create actually the documentation on the feature. So I'm just a bit scared sometimes that you're creating too much boilerplate, but it seems like an ideal flow. And I'm wondering if actually already some companies like Lovable or Cursor are using it under the hood. but it's probably like their secret sauce and they won't share.
This allows you to have full control over the whole thing. You know how it's being implemented. You know where it is messing up, when it messes up. And when you implement the task, you can also look to see if it's actually doing it. What I love about this is that you are asking it to create tests that test the code base on a unit level and on a end-to-end level. And when it does not pass, that means that the code is ass. But you basically iterate over the test results until you get 100% green, and then you test the whole app 100% green. That means you have implemented your feature. It is done, especially on an API level. It's done, cooked, and out the door. You don't need to stress that you fucked up. You can vibe code and be productive and push solid code instead of vibe coding and breaking everything, which is how we all started. Let's be honest. So that was our segment on a specific use case. We will get into more flows that we're doing. It is evolving as we go. Emrick, I hope that you're able to ship Redrich at a faster level with this and make a reliable code base with these techniques. I, on my side, am definitely doing much better. And so we are going to continue to give you tips on how to vibe code, because that is the future. That said, everybody, this was a great episode. We went over the best of news for you guys. I know the way things are going to go. AI is going to drop another big one on us next week, and everything is going to come out the day after we publish this video. I know it, but we will be back next week with a new episode covering what is to come. It was a pleasure to get on with you, Emrick. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure for me as well.
I'll see everybody in the next episode.